Rights. This is the era of rights. I have a right. It is my right. They have a right. It is their right. Rights. A moral or legal entitlement to obtain or have something or to act in a certain way. Now, there's no denying that we're entitled to fair treatment as human beings, regardless of race, background, skin color, or anything that the enemy uses to separate us. And by enemy, I mean the devil and Satan, who I believe is the real villain behind everything evil. Human beings innately understood throughout history, except of course for those of us who gave way to narcissism, that we are equal in the eyes of God. And if you ask any reasonable human, they will tell you, like Mother Teresa did, that human rights are not privilege conferred by governments. They are every human being entitlement by virtue of humanity. The Apostle Paul takes it a step further when he said, there is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, for we are all one in Christ Jesus. What a beautiful place the world would be if those scriptures were taken literally and applied in the world today. We live in a culture where everywhere, and I mean literally everywhere, people are calling for, fighting for, and commanding their rights. And in some places where there's actual oppression, it is justifiable. In contrast, others, let's say, it's questionable. But we live in a world where if you sneeze too close to anyone, you could be violating their right, or say something that they disagree with, something that is not conducive to their rationale. Then you could be ostracized and be called all sort of names. Because in our current society, it's easier to blame me for hurting you and condemn me as the instigator of your pain than to take responsibility. You get a picture. No one wants to take responsibility for their actions. And the big question is, how can you call for rights when you're not willing to be responsible? Because having rights comes with responsibility. Because rights are not something or a tool that you can use for your own destruction and even in this oppression or destruction of others. Rights come with responsibility. And the more rights you have, the greater the responsibility. It's easy to say you've wronged me than it is to say I am responsible for my actions, my own life. Because whether you like it or not, the present reality of injustice and so-called inequality is not a barrier that hinders you from taking responsibility for your own life and making the change necessary to improve your life. Unless, of course, you're a woman who lives in Saudi Arabia or a Christian who lives in Somalia, where some of humanity is actually oppressed. But I find that the truth is no amount of rights can change my personal life. But taking responsibility will, changing my attitude will, doing what I know is right will, and spreading my bed in the morning most definitely will. I have learned that no government, no politician will ever make my life better. I decide how far I can or cannot go up the imaginary ladder of success. Because I find that the most accessible road to failure is to think that where you are in life is not your fault. Because if it's not your fault, you can blame anyone for it and never take responsibility that will actually bring change. Play the victim. That's easier. Because only those who stop blaming and start changing will see real progressive change. And in the same breath, only those who forgive will be able to move on. Because unforgiveness is like standing at the gate of opportunity and never being able to open it or even see it. Rights are mandatory, but responsibility is necessary. My name is Ricardo, and this is a call to stand.